The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
It's Monday, and that means it's time for another edition of Black Focus Radio. You know, the show that talks about our issues, using our voices, and coming up with our own solutions. Yeah, we are the only one. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. My name is David W. Coleman. I'll be your host with another Ride on Monday. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, of course. And be sure to support our sponsors, joinnetradio.com and ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com. You know, where you go and bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. Give me a hand. Let me take you down through barbecue land, okay? One other thing before we get the show started, want to remind you to join my one-man campaign to get rid of the N-word. Just don't say it. Stop it. We don't need to hear it anymore. We know what people like to say, but we ain't saying it no more. Get it out your music. Get it out your lexicon. Don't refer to your man that way. Just get it out. In other words, just don't say it. Okay? A lot of stuff to talk about on today's show. Woo! It's a big one. Of course, it's been hell has no fury than a orange pimple scorned. We'll talk about a lot of Donald Trump this week. Of course, he is reflecting upon his recent defeat. And he's screaming out like a baby, a lot of stuff. It's the old saying, the emperor has no clothes, and he's just now beginning to realize it. Also, MAGA seems to be imploding after that Tuesday election. Tell me again why you say elections have no consequences. They're imploding. Majorie Traitor Green, something that I've been calling her for years, has decided to resign. We'll jump into that a little bit and get some of her comments. And, of course, we got to talk a little bit about Pharrell Williams and these bourgeoisie black folks that came up on the rough side of the tracks, was fortunate enough to get out of the projects or be able to cross over to the other side of the tracks, and how they seem to crap on black people left and right. Pharrell Williams is the latest, so we're going to take him to task as well. Of course, the Texas gerrymandering, it was up, it was down, it's about up again. The Supreme Court has weighed in. We'll talk about that as well. This is going to be a long, long ride. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that's what's on the agenda. And oh, by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to Art Burton, who posted a map of some of the massacres that occurred in the Red Summer. We're talking about that. We've been talking about these. We're trying to go through every instance of the massacre that took place. And we're going to talk about that here in a moment. But before I do that, I want to take a quick time out and send my condolences to the Georgia Morris family, a very delightful lady that I got the pleasure of getting to know while I was in Little Rock, a stalwart in the community, was always down and fighting for what was right for not just black people, white people, Hispanic people. It didn't matter to Georgia Morris. She stood up for you. And I was disheartened to hear that she had gotten her wings and moved on to be with the ancestors. And she will certainly be welcomed. So much love to the Morris family. Peace be with you. And certainly, Georgia, you live forever in my heart. Okay? Now, Before we do anything else, we got to christen the show. So let's do Black Facts.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
As you heard me say, Black Facts is something that I do every week. I've been doing this show in its iteration for over 9 years, and every day I do a Black Fact. It was brought to my attention a couple of months ago where white folks was running around saying that, slavery wasn't that bad. Well, we're not even talking about slavery. We're talking about what happened after slavery. And it really amazes me because I'm currently reading this book, Black AF History. And one of the things that Michael Harriot, who's the author, talks about is that, and he makes a very valid point, that all black folks wanted to be was be free. We didn't want to be like white people. We didn't want to do anything except be free. In fact, most black folks wanted to be away from white people. It was white people who came into the black communities and rioted and massacred and killed simply because we just wanted to be free. We weren't trying to take anything from y'all. Therein lies the Red Summer. And I'm going to talk about today the Omaha riot. They call it a riot. It's a massacre. It took place September 28th and 29th, 1919. It resulting in the lynching of Willie Brown, a black civilian, the deaths of 2 white rioters, the injuries of many Omaha Police Department officers and civilians, including attempted hanging of Mayor Parson Smith, and a public rampage by thousands of white rioters who set fire to the Douglas County Courthouse in downtown Omaha. It followed more than 20 race massacres that occurred in major industrial cities and certain rural areas in the United States during the Red Summer of 1919. 3 weeks before the riot, federal investigators had noted that a clash was imminent owing to ill feelings between white and black workers in the stockyards. The number of African Americans in Omaha doubled during the decade of 1910 to 1920 as they were recruited to work in the meat packing industry. In 1910, Omaha had the 3rd largest black population among the new western cities that had become destinations following Reconstruction. By 1920, the black population more than doubled to over 10,000, second to only Los Angeles with nearly 16,000. It was ahead of San Francisco, Oakland, Topeka, and Denver. The major meat packing plants hired black people as strike breakers in 1917. South Omaha's working class whites showed great hostility towards black strike breakers. By this time, the ethnic Irish, the largest and earliest group of immigrants, had established their power base in the city. Several years earlier, following the death of an Irish police officer, ethnic Irish had led a mob in an attack on Greektown, driving the Greek community from Omaha. Put a pin in that. Violent white folks. Violent Irish. I'm just saying. The city's criminal establishment, led by Ted Dennison and teamed with the Omaha Business Men's Association, created a formidable challenge for the moralistic administration of first-term reform mayor Edward Parson Smith. With little support from the Omaha City Council or the city's labor union, Smith wearily worked through his reform agenda. Following several strikes throughout the previous year, 2 detectives with Omaha Police Department's Moral Squad shot and killed an African-American bellhop on September 11th. Reports of the alleged rape of a 19-year-old Agnes Lobeck on September 21st, 1919, triggered the violence associated with Willie Brown's lynching. The following day, police arrested 41-year-old Will Brown as a suspect. Lobeck identified Brown as a rapist. However, during questioning, Brown stated that Lobeck did not make a positive identification, which Lobeck later refuted. There was an unsuccessful attempt to lynch Brown on the day of his arrest. The Omaha Bee, which published a series of articles about many incidents of black crimes, published the incident as one of the series of attacks on white women by black men. Are y'all seeing a common thread here? A political machine opposed to the newly elected reform administration of Mayor Smith controlled the Omaha Bee. It highlighted alleged incidents of black criminality to embarrass the new administration. About 2 p.m. on Sunday, September 28th, a large group of white youths gathered at Bangkok School in South Omaha and began to march to Douglas County Courthouse, where Brown was being held. The march was intercepted by John T. Dunn, chief of the Omaha Detectives Bureau, and his subordinates. Dunn attempted to disperse the crowd, but they ignored his warning and marched on. 30 police officers guarding the courthouse when the marchers arrived by 4 p.m. The crowd had grown much larger. Members of the crowd bantered with police officers until police were convinced that the crowd posed no serious threat. A report to the effect was made by the Central Police Station, and the captain in charge sent 50 reserve officers home that day. By 5 p.m., the mob had began to swell between 5 and 15,000 people and had crowded on the street on the south side of the courthouse. They began to assault police officers, pushing one through a pane of glass in the door and attacking two others, which wielded clubs at the mob. At 5:15, officers deployed fire hoses to dispel the crowd, but they responded with a shower of bricks and sticks. Nearly every window of the south side of the courthouse was broken out. The crowd stormed the lower doors of the courthouse, and the police inside discharged their weapons down an elevator shaft in an attempt to frighten them. But this further incited the mob. By 6 p.m., throngs swarmed about the courthouse on all sides. The crowd wrestled revolvers, badges, and caps from the policemen. They chased and beat every African American who ventured into the vicinity. White civilians who attempted to rescue black civilians were subjected to physical abuse. The police had lost all control of the crowd. By 7 p.m., most of the police had withdrawn to the interior of the courthouse. There, they were joined by forces of the Michael Clark, sheriff of Douglas County, who had summoned his deputies to the building with hopes of preventing the capture of Brown. Shots were fired as the mob pillaged hardware stores in the business district and entered pawn shops seeking firearms. Police records show that more than 1,000 revolvers and shotguns were stolen that night. Louis Young, 16 years old, was fatally shot in the stomach while leading a gang up to the fourth floor. Witnesses said the youth was the most intrepid of the mob's leaders. Pandemonium reigned outside the building at 7th and Douglas Street, 1 block from the courthouse. James Heichel, a 34-year-old businessman, was shot and killed. At 11 p.m. that night, when the frenzy was at its height, Mayor Edward Smith came out of the east door of the courthouse into 7th Street. He had been in the burning building for hours. As he emerged from the doorway, shots rang out. "He shot me. Mayor Smith shot me." A young man in a uniform of the United States shoulder yelled. The crowd surged forward toward the mayor. He fought them. One man hit the mayor in the head with a baseball bat. Another slipped the noose around his neck. The crowd started to drag him away. "If you must hang somebody, then let it be me," said the mayor. Meanwhile, the plight of the police courthouse had become desperate. The fire had spread to the 3rd floor, and officers faced the prospect of burning to death. Appeals for help to the crowd below brought only bullets and curses. The mob frustrated. You know what? Are these white people killing police? Oh, I'm sorry. I digress. On the 2nd floor of the building, 3 policemen and a newspaper reporter were imprisoned in a safety vault, which with thick metal door the mob had shut. The 4 men hacked their way through the courthouse wall. The mob shot at them as they squirmed out of the stifling vault. The gases of formaldehyde added to the terrors of the men imprisoned within the flaming building. Several jars of the chemical had burst on the stairway, and its deadly fumes mounted the upper floors. 2 policemen were overcome. Sheriff Clark led 121 prisoners to the roof. Willie Brown, for whom the mob was howling, became hysterical. Fellow prisoners allegedly tried to throw him off the roof, but the deputy sheriffs, Hoy and McDonald, foiled the attempt. Sheriff Clark ordered a female prisoner to be taken from the building due to their distress. 3 slips of paper were thrown from the 4th floor to the west side of the building. One piece scrawled, "The judge says he will give up Negro Brown. He is in the dungeon. There are 100 white prisoners on the roof. Save them." Another read, "Come to the 4th floor of the building and we will hand the Negro over to you." The mob in the street cheered the last message. The boys and young men placed fireman ladders against the building. They mounted the 2nd story. One man had a heavy coil of rope on his back, and another carried a shotgun. 2 or 3 minutes after the unidentified men had climbed to the 4th floor, a mighty shout and a full assault of shots were heard from the south side of the building. Willie Brown had been captured. A few minutes later, his lifeless body was hanging from a telephone pole at 8th and Harney Streets. Hundreds of revolvers and shotguns were fired at the corpse as it dangled in midair. Then the rope was cut. Brown's body was tied to the rear end of an automobile. It was dragged through the streets of 7th and Dodge Streets. 4 blocks away, the oil from the red lantern used as danger signals for street repairs was poured on the corpse. It was burned. Members of the mob hauled the charred remains through the business district for several hours. Sheriff Clark said the black prisoners hurled Brown into the hands of the mob as its leaders approached the stairway leading to the county jail. Clark also reported that Brown moaned, "I'm innocent, I never did it, my God, I'm innocent," as he was surrendered to the mob. Newspapers have quoted alleged leaders of the mob as saying that Brown was shoved at them through a blinding smoke by persons whom they could not see. The lawlessness continued for several hours after Brown had been lynched. Both the police patrol and emergency automobiles were burned. 3 times the mob went to the city jail. The third time, its leaders announced they were going to burn it, but never did. Meanwhile, Omaha officials requested assistance from the United States Army. On September 30th, the city was described by the New York Times correspondent as quiet, with around 800 soldiers patrolling and 500 troops held in reserve. Martial law was not formally proclaimed in Omaha, but it was effectively enacted throughout the city by the request of City Commissioner W.G. Ure, who was acting mayor. Wood also took control of the city police department. On October 1st, 1919, Brown was laid to rest in Omaha's Potter's Field. The internment log listed only one word next to his name: lynched. Every time I read one of these, I become more and more disturbed. And as I showed you the book, Black AF History by Michael Harriot, one of the points that he's been making in this book, and one of the things that I've been asking for a while now, is why is it that it's so hard for white people to accept black freedom? It's a question that we need to start asking. Because when you go back and you read the history of what's been going on in this country since black people first arrived on these shores around 1615, it is pretty clear that white people do not value black freedom. You think about and there's one other thing I want to read, because as I read that, and when you go back and you look at all of these things that took place during the Red Summer, it's clear that the lie that was always told was that black people, or the black man, he raped a white woman. There was something about white virtue that they were clearly in fear of. And unfortunately, this was a lot of the excuse that they used in order to kill, massacre, and maim black people. And I'm hoping I can quickly find this passage. And this passage is, let me just read it. We met here to establish the supremacy of the white race. This was Judiciary Committee Chairman Thomas Seams during his closing remarks. Our mission was, in the first place, to establish the supremacy of the white race in this state to the extent to which it could be legally and constitutionally done, and what has our ordinance on suffrage, the constitutional means by which we propose to maintain that ascendancy done. We have established throughout the state white manhood suffrage. The fight against segregation had less to do with the proximity to whiteness and more about social, political, and economic subjugation of black people. That's what this is really all about. Black people have never really wanted to be with white folks. If you go back and you look at our history during the times that we were being successful, once we were removed from slavery, what did white people do? And that's why I'm going in here and doing these Red Summer events. Because these are instances where black folks was minding their own business, and white people came up with a lie, an excuse to come in and raid these towns and kill black people. By the way, if you've not seen that picture of Willie Brown, if you know anything about history, he's the picture of the man who is in the fire. Okay? Remember when Charlie Kirk got killed, what did white folks do? They came and threatened HBCUs. One other quick point, and then I'm going to take the break. I'm going to end this black fact. Okay? As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and end it now. That's our black fact for today, and we'll follow up after about another quick point. I hope y'all enjoyed it.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed this black fact. I enjoy bringing these black facts to you to set the record straight when it comes to black history. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it has perplexed me for years why white people seem to have this hard on for black folks when black folks really don't want nothing to do with y'all. Okay? History shows that. It's been white folks who have come to attack black people when black folks was minding their own business. Now, that story about Willie Brown, or William Brown from Omaha, it is a picture that sat in my mind for decades. I remember seeing this picture of Willie Brown. There was a fire, and Willie Brown was in the fire, obviously dead, and there were white people around him, looking, laughing, enjoying the scene. Here's what bothered me the most about it all, is that they didn't seem to be upset. And I remember, and the reason I'm telling this story, because I remember when you tell me that history doesn't matter, here's an example that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that it does. I remember taking a group of kids from Nashville to the Memphis Civil Rights Museum. And I've told this story before. And on the wall, they have these plaques of history and things that happened. And we went through the period of the Red Summer. And there was a picture of William Brown being consumed by this fire in the Red Summer expose. And, you know, you look at the pictures on the wall, you read the captions, and then you move to the next slot. And then you move to the next, and you just go around this wall. And this wall was a history of civil rights lineage. And the group of kids, and it was about 30 of us. And, you know, each one we would stop at, I would explain to them, of course, you know, they knew I graduated from Little Rock Central. There was a replica of Little Rock Central in the Civil Rights Museum as well. And we were moving towards the Civil Rights Museum, the Little Rock Central exhibit. And one of the young women, and it was Monica, who tugged on my coat. Monica was about 12. She said, "Hey, Mr. David, that's what they call me. Look at William." And this young man's name was William. We called him Willie. And we were like 6 or 7 panes up, history panes up. Willie was still back at the Willie Brown exhibit, that picture. He was captivated by it. So we all walked back to him. And when he looked at us, there were tears rolling down his cheeks. And he said, "Mr. David, I never knew." He said, "If I knew people went through so much for me to be free, I wouldn't be in this situation that I am in." Now, what I didn't tell you is that Willie was the oldest of the group. He was like 17. He would come to the group because he didn't really want to be out there. He was 17 and in the 9th grade. And I took special care to talk to him because he should not have been in the 9th grade. No one cared about this boy. He said, if someone would have told me about my history, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in. At the time, I didn't know what he meant. But a few months later, Willie was shot dead on the steps of our program. Our program was Project C. He was in a gang. I say that to say that our history is important to all of our children. And if we simply just tell them the truth, we simply just tell them what's going on, it will change a lot. We got to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about joynetradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joynetradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joynetradio.com. David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'da thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you'd like to join the show, coming up later on, we're going to talk a lot about what's going on with Donald Trump and MAGA. We'll do that next hour. This hour, I want to make sure that we're focused on things that are happening in our community. And Malcolm X once said he didn't particularly care for entertainers. And during the time period, it seemed that only entertainers could be leaders, or at least that's what they thought. And so, and to their benefit, a lot of them did do quite well in being leaders in the black community. Harry Belafonte is one of the people that stands out, and Bill Russell was another. You know, there were quite a few. There were others that made their statements through athletics, and things of that nature. But I want to read this quote from Malcolm X because, and it talks about the power of the media. Okay, Malcolm X is quoted as saying, "The media's the most powerful entity on earth." Something I've been saying for decades. Of course, I got it from Malcolm, and he's correct on that note. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and make the guilty innocent. A wise man can play the part of a clown, but a clown cannot play the part of a wise man. Okay? And Malcolm goes on to talk about entertainers who are not leaders, because that's important to where I'm going with this. Just bear with me. He says that entertainers are not leaders, okay? And the point that Malcolm was making is that we are the only community where we have entertainers. We are the only ones, okay? But white people had people fighting for them that were doctors and lawyers, and we had entertainers. Now, that's not to say that we don't have entertainers that are stellar academically, intellectually. That's not to say that at all. As a matter of fact, the one that stands out to me is Jaylen Brown, that's for the Boston Celtics. That guy could be an astrophysicist, but I digress. There's a reason why I'm saying this. Because Pharrell Williams last week said something that really irritated me. Here's what Malcolm said. Comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players, show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities, and usually they say exactly what they want, what they know the white man wants to hear. The first thing the cracker does when he comes into power, he takes all the Negro leaders, invites them to coffee to show that he's all right. And those Uncle Toms can't pass up the coffee. They come away from the coffee table telling you and me, this man is all right. Hello. Now, here's why I'm bringing this up. Last week, Pharrell Williams opened his mouth and realized that he was a damn idiot, just as most of these entertainers. And if Malcolm doesn't speak to what this is, nothing does. Look at who you all allow to lead you. Here's what he says. I hate politics. I despise them. It's a magic trick. It's not real. I don't believe in either side, because if you're on either side, you're supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just gotta say, when I think about it, the wells are drying up. Do you think for what it is that you do you think you're the best? Do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? I think now, for me, it's about us having the best ambition. And that's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they happen to be black and brown, but it should be based on the fact that they're the best, not because the shade of color. You know, Pharrell, you kind of cleaned it up there, but let me just say something. I'm going to say it once and I'm going to say it again. I'm tired of these black folks who have made money off the backs of black people before they got famous, and then all of a sudden they forgot where they came from. And I'm not one who really points that out a lot, but for Pharrell to say some stupid stuff like that, it's clear that he doesn't have a clue. So he says, let's break it down here for a moment. He says that if you support one party or the other, that's division. Well, that's kind of like saying if you like an apple versus an orange, that's division. People have choices. If Pharrell had any common sense, it's something that I've been advocating for decades, is there needs to be more than two political parties, because as I've said over and over again, I don't think America is all the way left, and they're certainly not all the way right. Most Americans are center left, center right, and they can go back and forth. See the independent people who voted for and against Donald Trump the last couple of elections. That's the group that I'm in. I go back and forth. Lately, I haven't voted for any of the Rethuglicans because they're nothing but thugs. And sometimes I don't vote for Democrats. Sometimes I'll just vote in local elections or for ballot initiatives. But I vote. Pharrell Williams is suggesting that your vote doesn't matter. Why are you saying those stupid stuff? Okay? You're supporting division. It's a magic trick. Oh, that's cute. It's not real? Well, let me ask you a question. How did Donald Trump get elected to office if it wasn't real? Pharrell Williams, I'm asking you because, you got all this wisdom, but clearly you don't know how to use it. It amazes me because these guys can rap and rhyme and put music together. All of a sudden, they are these great sages when it comes to what is good and what isn't good for the black community. And there he is sitting there at an event where he's pushing black and brown businesses. And he tries to equivocate what is right and what is wrong when it comes to race in America. He tries to tell black people that you voting doesn't matter. And there are some black people who are out there saying, oh, Pharrell, I'm a huge fan of Pharrell Williams. And you know what he said about voting. See, I told y'all, man, that's why I don't vote. Pharrell is right on point. You are the same idiot that didn't vote this last election. And look what thou hath wrought. And people like Pharrell Williams, and from what I understand, he's been getting cut up, and rightfully so. Because this man, see, it's easy when you can buy your way away from racism. They won't call you the N-word in your face. They'll just wait till you cut that check. or you check out their fancy hotel, and then they'll throw the sheets away. And you think because you done went and stayed at these fancy joints that they respect you. They respect how much money they can make off of you. If you get an opportunity, if you're listening to this show, go out and check out the brother who was talking about the record industry. I posted it on my Facebook wall. Go check him out. Who talks about how they used entertainment in order to corral the black people. The very same thing that Malcolm X was saying. See, they pay you, during the 60s, Lyndon Baines Johnson said, part of the reason that black folks are upset if they ain't got jobs. So if we give them jobs, they won't be out here marching. So they start giving y'all government jobs. They started giving you the big job, so you weren't going to go out there and march, and you weren't going to go out there and protest. You were going to be the peacemaker at the job, even though you would know you were surrounded by bigots and racists. This is what they do to black folks. And the music industry is no different, because this young man makes a very salient point. They went from cutting $200 on the corner for coke and crack and weed to getting $20,000. They're not going to give that up. And the sad thing about it, they are so wedded to this money. They are so drunk off of fame, they don't even realize that they are poisoning and destroying their own people for money. Don't even realize it, man. It's crazy. It is unbelievable that this continues to happen. We saw it with Jay-Z. By the way, where's Jay-Z now with the NFL? Yeah? Did Colin get a job back? Did he? This is my point, is that they hire a blackface in order to curry favor with them, to say, hey, he's all right. That's Pharrell Williams. He doesn't have to worry about racism. As I said earlier, he's bought his way away from racism. He doesn't have to deal with it anymore. Even though they're going to call him the N-word, even though when he checks out, they don't care about him, but they will say, and they'll come up to you and get your autograph. Woo! I'm going to tell you what, when I covered the Tennessee Titans, and we do those Titan shows, it was amazing to me, the white folks that was trying to get autographs. The same white folks who wouldn't want them to move into their neighborhood. Many of them wouldn't want them to marry their daughter, but some of them would, because they look at, hey, he married her, she married. If I sell my daughter to an NFL player, although she white, I'm going to benefit because I'm going to get some tickets. He gonna take care of my daughter. Hey, she gonna marry him. She gonna be with him for 5 years. She gonna divorce him, and she gonna get half of his money. And that money is gonna help us. Hello? That's what they do. And we fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. Now, let me be clear. If you want to marry a white woman, that's your business. I ain't mad at you. Go for it. But there's something wrong with what this thing is going on with Pharrell Williams and black entertainers. They're so drunk on the money. It's kind of like being in too deep when you get in with the gambler or the drug dealer, and he just want to give you a taste, and you get a taste, and the taste tempts you, and you decide that, oh, I need more and more and more. And that's what you've done. You've got hooked. That's what these entertainers are. Many of these entertainers are insolvent financially. They got to keep getting more money. So they'll literally do and say anything to keep their pockets fat, even though that fatness is off the backs of black people. This is Pharrell Williams and his ilk. He's part of the same black folks who hadn't said anything about Donald Trump being a crook and stealing billions of dollars from the taxpayers. Hadn't said anything about it. I'm just wondering what's up. Pharrell, can you help a brother out? I'm just asking for a friend. Don't run to our communities talking about you black and how black you are. And look, I gotta give him credit for the event that he was in. Okay? For the event that he was in, he was supporting black business startups. That's great. Here's another quick thing, and I'm gonna leave this. I tell you what, let's take a break, and when we come back, I want before I get in, because I want to expound on this a little bit more as well. All right? You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com. Barbecue season is here, and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. I'm talking a little bit about Pharrell Williams, and he got in some hot water because I find that a lot of these entertainers, they want to be philosophical. And then, when you turn on the mic, they can rap, they can sing, they can do all of that. When you really start looking and hearing what's between their ears, you begin to realize that they're a bunch of airheads. They're a bunch of airheads. And I know he was trying to be philosophical. And look, I don't want to take anything away from the fact that there he was at his event, the 5th annual Black Ambition Demo Day, trying to encourage black and brown businesses. Great. Not taking that away from you. But sometimes when you open your head, or the old saying, it's better to let people think you're a fool than to open your head and relieve all doubt. And this is what Pharrell Williams did. Let me just read a couple of other things from it. And I read a little bit of it. It said, he says, during the event, Williams also addressed black audiences, members, and encouraged them to focus on excellence rather than relying on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in this political climate. So, I question, Pharrell, do you know why those programs are there or were there? Okay, it wasn't that black folks were relying on those programs. Those programs, by the way, were or supposed to be designed to make sure that black folks are getting a fair shake as far as getting at least a look. Let me go on, though. Do you think for what it is that you do you think you're the best? Do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? So let me educate you, Pharrell. You're 52 years old, right? So you lived in an era where I'm sure you got denied jobs, or maybe you didn't because you've been in the music industry so long. You don't have to worry about it. But most of us common folks, you know you were more qualified than that white person, but they didn't hire you. That's what DEI programs were designed to do, is to at least make sure the door was open. Nobody wants those jobs just because they're black. Where are you getting that stupidity from? Oh, white talking points. Nobody wants a job just because of the color of their skin. I certainly don't. The most embarrassing thing you can do is go to a job, be counted on, and suddenly realize you can't do the job. That dog ain't gonna hunt. Black folks just want to be able to get the job. Michael Harriot talks about that in his book, Black AF History. We black folks don't want to be white folks. Black folks don't want any special privileges. We just want to be able to live by the creed that you all claim that America stands for. That we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. That means black women, that means black men, Hispanic women and men, Asian women and men. It means all of them. And that means not only that we're created equal, that we're going to get the same opportunities. Our schooling is going to be paid for the way to the depth and breadth of white schools. Our health care, when we go to apply for a loan, that we won't be redlined, or when we vote, we won't be gerrymandered. That's all black folks has ever wanted. When I talk about the Red Summer, when you go and you look at what happened in the Red Summer, those people were minding their own businesses. Those people being black. Many of those towns had already become self-sufficient. The white towns were not. I talked last week about the riot that went on in Memphis, where the black grocer and the white grocer. And it got to the point where more people were going to the black grocer, and I'm including white people in Memphis, than they were the white grocer. And the white grocer got upset and feigned that some black man, what was it? What's the key? Had raped a white woman. 3 men were murdered. Ida B. Wells was run out of town. You all follow this here. So Pharrell thinking that black people want to be giving special privileges? You mean like white people? Because they get special privileges. Many of the reasons their sons and daughters were able to go to Harvard because they got grandfathered in, something that many black people will never have that opportunity because their ancestors were not allowed to read or write, and many of them were not allowed to go to Harvard and other Ivy League schools, who, by the way, was built on slave money. You see, Pharrell, if you knew history, you would know that. Black people don't want a free ride. Black people have been the hardest working people this country has ever seen. Damn, we worked 400 years free. Black people only want what's owed to them. And that begins with freedom. As I said earlier, white people come starting stuff with us. Back in the day, don't come start nothing with me. That's what white people do. They start stuff with black folks. Every one of these Red Summer massacres started with white folks coming to black folks, starting stuff with them. And the amazing thing about it to me is that black people, even when the Civil War started, there were a lot of blacks who sided with the Union, but the blacks were just trying to get away from all white folks. Even during the American Revolutionary War, black folks was going to fight with the British for the British because they thought they would be free of white rule in America. Black folks have just always wanted to be away from y'all ass. I'm sorry. This mentality now in the late 70s and 80s where black folks, wanted to move into the white neighborhood to be away from black folks. It wasn't that they wanted to be away from black folks. They wanted to be away from your ignorance, your ghetto mentality. So Pharrell Williams, you are an idiot, bro. You are typical of many of these black folks who have made it You are typical of these black folks who would look. Again, I want to applaud you for pushing black and brown businesses. That's wonderful. But you got to understand, brother, there are multiple ways to fight a war. Your way, apparently, which is a good way, is supporting black and brown startups. That's great. We need more of those. But more importantly, are people like you going to support those businesses? Instead of trying to chastise people, what you should have been doing is saying, hey, we need all y'all to go out and support these businesses right now. That's what you should have been doing, Pharrell. But unfortunately, you were not. You were trying to make a philosophical point that made you look like an idiot. Because black people don't want a handout. Contrary to popular belief, contrary to white supremacist talking points, contrary to faux news talking points, black people just want to be treated equal and left alone. Think about this. And we're going to go to the top of the hour. Think about this. Black people built the civilization of Africa. Huge monuments and all kinds of gold and everything you can imagine. Studied the stars and studied medicine and all of this. At what point in history did black folks need white folks? I'll wait. Didn't come up with anything, did you? There was no point in the evolution of mankind and black people. Did I say evolution? Evolution of black people and mankind. Did black folks ever need white folks? And when white folks finally met black folks, what did black folks do? Yo, y'all don't look like us, but come on in here. Let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how not to crap in the middle of the street. Let me show you how to count the stars. Let me show you how to get through the Saharan desert without dying of thirst. That's what black folks did. White folks, on the other hand, that's mine. Oh, I know you had it before I did, but it's mine now, and we gonna take it. Pharrell Williams, you are an idiot. Black folks don't want a handout. They just want you to get the hell out of the way so they can be free. That's the bottom line. We'll take the top of the hour break. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about joynetradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joynetradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joynetradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. It's the second hour of the show. Don't forget to support our sponsors, joinnetradio.com and ribrub.com, RIBBRUBB.com. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh, yeah. You need to get out there and order that gift box before the Christmas holidays so we can get it shipped to you and make somebody very, very happy. Okay. A lot of stuff to talk about this hour. Of course, it's going to be more Trump than anything. Yeah, we got to talk about that. And it's going to encompass a lot of different things. MAGA has imploded and it continues. We're going to talk about that. And should it be any different? And I want to remind you also that join me as we get rid of the N-word. So, just don't say it. All right. So I want to start with this story. A former New Jersey GOP aide allegedly paid a fetish artist to carve dozens of cuts in her skin and had a pal scrawl "Trump whore" on her stomach in order to claim that she was the victim of politically motivated violent attack, according to courthouse documents. Let's give her name. Natalie Green was arrested this past Wednesday and charged with concocting the violent bogus ambush at Egg Harbor Township Nature Reserve on July 23rd. Prosecutors said the accused fraudster claimed 3 gun-willing men approached her and a friend on the trail about 10:30 p.m. before threatening to shoot her and hitting her in the head. Wow. The suspect said the fictitious attackers then hog-tied her with black zip ties, held her down while slashing her face and body, and etched anti-Trump slurs onto her stomach and back because she worked for a Republican. Green, a Maserati driving Rutgers student, worked for U.S. Representative Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey. Local residents in Green's hometown were horrified when they had heard the story. At the end of the day, we're talking about a 25-year-old girl, a beautiful girl whose politics aren't supposed to reach that level of extreme. Now, remember what I was talking about last hour as far as the red summer was concerned? Here was a poor little white girl who had been attacked and wanted some people to do something about it. I'm looking at the pictures of her. She actually had someone look, clearly this young lady was sick. She had some issues because when you look at her body and these pictures, what would possess you to want to do something like this? You are really sick. You really are. Which brings me to, and I ask that question because it brings me to Majorie Traitor Green. Majorie Traitor Green is resigning. And there are a couple of things that I'm not surprised, but this shows you that this place is imploding. And I say that because of this, and I'm going to get to this Green story here in just a moment. But I say that because racism is illogical. Just like 1 + 1 = 3, racism is just as incongruent as that statement. That mathematical equation, that basic equation that we all know, that 1 point plus 1 is 2 and not 3. You'll understand what I'm saying? So when you do illogical things, you get illogical results. Some people would say, F around and find out. We had another saying that was a little more vulgar back in the day. Don't play Sally and get, okay? If you can't run with the big dogs, stay on the porch. All of those little sayings. But see, the problem is that racism is really illogical. It makes no sense. It never has. It never will. And when you start putting these people together to govern, you begin to get chaos. That is what you're getting from the Trump administration. That is what you're getting from his underlings. And that is what you're getting from the people who support him. Majorie Traitor Green as the example. So last week, Majorie Traitor Green decided that she was going to resign. Now let me say this, that the beginning of the end probably occurred earlier on, but we began to see the balloon leaking November 4th, when the Democrats had decided that we're going to win this thing. And they did. They stepped up, and on November 4th, they swept everything, including the dog catcher. Rethuglicans began to realize, but long before that, this thing with Jeffrey Epstein had began. It was a pinprick in the balloon. There was a slow leak. And as Trump began and continued to obfuscate and hide the facts of what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein, it became apparent. And then all of a sudden, 3 women signed on to the release of the Epstein files. Nancy Mace, Majorie Traitor Green, and Lauren Boebert. And they signed on steadfastly, where no one was going to get them to change their mind. No one. Lauren Boebert, prior to the vote being cast last week, was sent into a skiff, summoned, I should say, into a skiff to talk to the president and to be lobbied by the Attorney General and Kash Patel. Something unprecedented. Majorie Traitor Green was lobbied. Nancy Mace, who was admittedly a victim of sexual assault, from what I understand, was lobbied. She said she didn't even answer the phone. Hello? Something was afoot. I don't know if Majorie Traitor Green was sexually assaulted. I'm going to be honest, she acts like it. But I don't know that. I'm not going to say that. But maybe there was someone she knew. Maybe there was someone in her family. And she became a bulldog when it came to this situation. So here were rich white men wanting, because Majorie Traitor Green, you can tell at one point she was poor white trash. Look, I'm sorry. That's just the vibes that she gives off to me. And Lauren Boebert as well. Uncouth, uncivilized. They're learning as they go. Good for them. But it became clear that there was a problem. And after she decided that she was not going to leave, or at least she was not going to sign off Donald Trump began to attack her. In her resignation, she said this: I have too much respect and dignity, love for my family, way too much, and do not want my sweet district to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president we all fought for, only to win my election while Republicans will likely lose midterms. Hello? See, she's already conceded that the Republicans are in trouble. Say what you want to say. She's already conceding that. She said, oh, certainly I haven't made any things like that. Okay. She's not even planning to run for anything. At one point they were talking about she might run for Senate. I don't even think about it right now. I'm just like, damn it. Why aren't you back at work? She was upset because those people had taken an 8-week vacation. Okay. She goes on to say a lot of Republican voters who turned out big in 24 feel disenfranchised right now and don't feel motivated to go and vote. She didn't tell anybody. She said she's just upset. She's shocked that Trump would treat her this way. See, you got to understand that Trump is transactional. His relationships are transactional. It's what you can do for me. What can you do for me? I don't care what you can do for anybody else. All I need to know is what you can do for me. That's Donald Trump. And when she turned against Trump and got on those and she started championing the rights of women, because, you know, Donald Trump doesn't really care about women, he turned against her. Shouldn't be a surprise. This is what these people do. You're either with them or you're against them. That's all that matters to them. And clearly, this is all that what mattered to them. At this point, the Republican Party is in trouble. They are imploding upon themselves. She didn't want to be primary. But see, people don't realize that Donald Trump, his power is diminishing day by day as the LD word comes into effect. If you don't know what the LD word is, you don't know politics. That means lame duck. It happens to all presidents. You don't wield the same power that you once wielded. And she has to understand that. But she's had enough. And so do the Rethuglicans. At some point, the emperor is going to show you that he has no clothes, or he's going to realize it. Many of us have already been pointing and laughing. Is that your junk right there showing? Is that your junk, or is that a woolly worm? That's the problem. So she's gone. More and more Republicans are going to resign. And what they are beginning to realize is that they signed on to something illogical. Yeah, that's where I was going with this. See, when you sign up for things that are illogical, that make no sense, there's an old saying, weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Now, I'm not trying to preach to you, but see, you might be able to get away with what you got away with for a little while. But at some point, I believe in the American people, even the white ones, even the ones who don't or try to pretend like racism is some thing that happened years ago. I believe that people began to wake up. And I believe that Majorie Traitor Green has began to wake up. It hit her like a ton of bricks when she realized that maybe in her heart, she was there fighting for the quote unquote common man, even with some of the idiotic statements and things that she said and did. But at some point, something hit her and told her that, wait a minute, something isn't right. I don't know if it's the $1 billion tax break that they got or that they gave to the rich, the top 1%. And she realized that she wasn't going to get any of that, although many people believe that she was privy to stock tips. No proof of that. But some people believe that she was. There was some peculiar trading that went on earlier in this year, but that's another story for another day. She realized that she was not part of the big boy group. She realized that she was white, but she was only good enough to be their handservant, their handmaid. She wasn't good enough to walk with the big boys as much as she wanted. And she began to think. She's a smart woman. You've got to be pretty smart in order to win a national election. At least a statewide election. So she began to think that, wait a minute, I'm up here supporting things that is not going to benefit my family. Because even though she had arrived, clearly her children had not. And some of her family members had not. They were part of that poor white trash that rich white folks talk about behind closed doors, yet use them to go out and fight their wars, both politically and physically. Something clicked in Majorie Traitor Green. She realized that when the tax cut was coming to bear, she realized that her children were going to suffer. Her relatives were going to suffer. She began to speak out even more at that point. And she began to take all kinds of arrows from her own, including her Lord and Savior, Donald the Orange Pimple Trump. She couldn't take it. She decided that, hey, and see, here's the thing. She couldn't say, well, I'm just going to caucus with the Democrats. There have been people who have done that before. Joe Lieberman. She decided that, hey, I'm going to quit. By the way, as I told you, she ain't no dummy. From what I understand, her resignation goes into effect in 2025. And the report that I read the date that she chose, it allows her to get tenure in Congress so that she can get a pension. Hello? Yeah. She's still a crook. I don't feel sorry for her. Excuse me. You get what you pay for. When you lie down with dogs, you get fleas, and there are all kinds of analogies and and metaphors that we can use. But at the end of the day, this was doomed to failure. It goes back to my original point, is that when you do evil, eventually evil consumes itself, and it consumes everyone around you. Donald Trump is evil. And you can slowly but surely see that his evil is consuming itself. And it's consuming him. And it's consuming Pam Bundy. It's consuming Pete Hegseth. It's consuming Marco Rubio. It has consumed Stephen Miller. That's what hate does. That's why you can't spend your life hating other people for simply wanting to be free. That's the amazing thing about this, is that just imagine if white people on the right spend more time working together as opposed to making someone the other. Just how great could this nation be? As I continue to study history, because history to me is an evolving event. Although I go back, it brings me forward. And as I continue to study history, I continue to ask the question, how great would America have been had they not enslaved black people? Had they simply said, hey, look, yeah, we brought you all over here. Look, even if they brought us over here, They stole us from Africa. And then they had a come to Jesus moment around 1625 and said, hey, look, what we doing is wrong. How great would this country have been? When you go back and look at all of the things that black people have contributed to this country, let alone this world, how great would this country have been? But because of evil, it is not the country that it should be, and it is slowly spiraling to demise. And the only people can save it is white folks. Black folks ain't trying to save y'all no more. We done lived in the doldrums. We've lived in holes. We can go back. We've lived in one-room shanties. We've lived in roach-infested homes and so on and so forth. We ain't worried about none of that stuff no more. At the end of the day, y'all are gonna have to save yourself. And that's why this thing with the Red Summer is so important, is that we didn't do anything to y'all. Y'all messing with us. Why don't y'all just leave us alone? And we'd be all right. I'm just saying, we'd be all right. Speaking of which, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about this Texas gerrymandering case. We had ups and downs. We're back down again. We'll see how it continues to play out. But again, there's a reason why they're doing all of this. We got to take a break. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com. Hey friends, David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Products and RibRub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com. It's where you'll find the best dry marinade for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats and vegetables. We're gearing up for a very busy season, so I want you to make sure you take advantage of the great sale we've got going on right now. It's the Coleman's Dynamic Gift Box. It comes in 3 great flavors: hot and spicy, original, or scorching, or a 4th combination box. What is a Coleman's Dynamic Gift Box? Well, I'm glad you asked. You get 3 bags of Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub, 3 bags of Coleman's Dynamic Rib Nuts, a bag of Coleman's Dynamic Fry Dust, and of course, you get a bottle of rib juice, pepper juice, and rib dust. You can't beat that. Order a Coleman's Dynamic Gift Box today and get a digital copy of the Coleman's Dynamic Recipe Book. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now is the time to place that order for Coleman's Dynamic Gift Box before the holiday rush. And remember, bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RibRub.com. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook, and of course Instagram as well. We do have a Blue Sky account. We're going to start using that here in the next few days. We'll let you know about that as well. A lot of stuff to talk about today. We've been talking a lot about, this hour at least, about the implosion of MAGA, and it is relevant to evil. Every evil, you go back and look at history, every evil regime has imploded upon itself. You know, it's kind of like the drug dealer who thinks everybody's out to get him, even his loyal man. You know, it's kind of funny. I was sitting and I was thinking about the Punisher, the one that had John Travolta in it. And the Punisher used the paranoia of the head kingpin to kill his number one henchman, thinking that his number one henchman was after him. That's what evil does. It implodes upon himself. That you're so consumed with evil that you think everybody is out to get you. Even the guy who was your number one henchman. It's if you hadn't seen that version of the Punisher, you need to go out and check it out with John Travolta. Travolta's not the Punisher. I forgot the guy's name who played the lead, but I just thought it was interesting. You think everybody's out to get you. That's Donald Trump in a nutshell. If you're not his friend, he think you're out to get him. You can't stand on the side of right with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is right. Last week we saw where he attacked female reporters. He doesn't like female reporters. He doesn't like them. He doesn't like women. And of course, with the Eptein files closing in on him, he's thinking, "Egads, women again. Majorie Traitor Green, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, That's Donald Trump. But this segment, I want to talk a little bit about what happened in Texas this past week. Because this is going to be an ongoing battle. Of course, if you've been under a rock, you know that earlier this year, Texas had a special session where Donald Trump came to him and told, or I should say Greg Abbott, and asked him to have a special session so that they could redistrict the redistricted district maps. In other words, if you don't know anything about politics, every 10 years, they typically redraw the districts in every state based on the United States Census. We're 5 years in on this one in Texas, but they decided that they were going to go ahead and redistrict, hoping to get 5 extra seats for Donald Trump. Let me put a pin in that right now. If Donald Trump and the Rethuglicans party, their policies were so great, why do they have to cheat and try to win an election? That's one thing that you all need to keep clear right now. Okay? So they went ahead and had the special session. Of course, the state legislators, some of the Democratic legislators absconded from the state. Eventually, they had to go back. They ended up voting. Of course, they have the majority in Texas, they being the Rethuglicans. They voted for the new maps. Of course, they were sued in court by Mark Elias, who is a well-liked and well-meaning attorney. They lost. They got a ruling by a 3-panel judge about a week ago. It was a 2-to-1 vote. And basically, that Texas used race as a means in order to redistrict the redistricting. The claim that they were not using, even though they said it outwardly and publicly, and basically was led on by Donald J. Trump. In the meantime, California, with Gavin Newsom, decided that they would have a ballot initiative. And the ballot initiative was whether or not they were going to redistrict in California. They did. The ballot initiative passed. And California was basically equalizing the 5 seats gained in Texas. So it was going to be null and void. Other red states were talking about doing it. Indiana was one of them. Others were doing it. North Carolina. But unfortunately, many of them have now backed off. The question was, after the 3-panel judge made its ruling late last week, would Democrats end up with a net gain? Because many people believe, even with the redistricting in Texas, that is not a guarantee that Republicans were going to win those seats. And it's not. And based on what we saw November 4th, a couple of weeks ago, the Republicans are in trouble. In comes the United States Supreme Court late Friday with Judge Alito basically saying that the Texas maps can stand for now. Hello. By the way, this kind of takes me back to Pharrell Williams and all those other people who said that your vote don't count. If you didn't get that, then you are an idiot. No, I didn't expound on it purposely, because I've talked till I'm blue in the face, and imagine me with the blue face and I look like Papa Smurf. So the judge has decided for now to stay that order from the Third Circuit, or the 3-panel judges, I should say. The more we move forward. And by the way, I heard someone describe Greg Abbott as probably the most corrupt governor in the state or in the nation. I would agree with that. Him and his administration, they are just a bunch of, I would say yahoos, but they probably like that word. So here we are again. Another battle. It goes on and on and on. And fortunately, many of those states have decided that they're not going to join this road to sedition. We're going to talk about that here in a moment as well. They're not going to join it. And it's looking more and more. And I believe the young man's name is Isaiah Robertson, who actually ran for office in Texas and ended up losing. But he has been beating the drum about Democratic states need to continue to do what Republican states are doing. Gavin Newsom made the excellent point that you need to fight fire with fire. And that's what people are doing. That's what the Democrats have been doing. That's what they did November 4th. And even though they gave away, and theoretically they had to eventually come back and give up on the shutdown, but you have to continue to fight. That's what your constituencies want to see you do. They prove to you that they'll go to the polls for you if you simply stand up for them. The question has been whether or not the Democratic Party stood up for people, or were they just willing to knuckle under when it got a little uncomfortable. In the past, it's been the latter. I said last week that Gavin Newsom right now is the leader in the clubhouse as it relates to the Democratic nominee. If for some reason or another the Democratic Party ends up nominating someone other than Gavin Newsom, well, that guy or woman had better have a track record of standing up against the Republican or Rethuglicans establishment. No one has cleared the path more so than Gavin Newsom. No one. Okay? So I just thought I'd throw that out there for you all, because this continues to be a major, major problem. And you all have got to do something about it. You all have got to say, hey, we've had enough. We're not going to take this anymore. And if you do that, then some of this stuff will simply go away. See, the one thing a racist don't really want you to see is that he's a racist. They even oh, you call me a racist, you call me a fascist. Well, my thing, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it swims like a duck, then it's a duck. Don't do racist things and then get offended when people call you racist, because that's what some of you all are doing. That's just the bottom line on that. The Rethuglicans Party. And a lot of people are taking thrill and are happy that the Republican Party is imploding. So am I. I don't feel sorry for you. It's like I said when Charlie Kirk was killed. You know, it's a tragedy that the man was killed the way he was, but I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for him considering what he stood for. He wasn't some angelic person that many people tried to pretend that he was. He was an evil person. And again, evil killed by evil. That's what happens. Evil kills good, evil kills evil, and evil kills itself. It's a black hole that this country has somehow or another found itself in once again. You saw it. You found it. It was there during the 1600s. It was there in the 1700s. It was there in the 1800s. It was there in the 1900s. And unfortunately, some people have brought it into the 21st century. Unfortunately. And it's going to continue until you all do something. That old saying, evil can only thrive when good people do nothing. Well, good white people have been doing nothing for some time. And it's time for you all to stand up and do something worth doing. I'm just saying. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me if you like to join the show. A lot of things to talk about. And let me just give you, and I keep thinking about Pharrell Williams. Let me just give you a history of institutional racism over 400 years. Think about this. From 1619 to 1865, there was slavery. From 1865 to 1866, there were the black codes. From 1865 to the present, there was the KKK. From 1877 to 1954, there was Jim Crow. From 1934 to 1968, there was redlining. From 1971 to the present, there was the war on drugs. From 1973 to the present, there was mass incarceration. From 1993 to the present, there was a 3 strikes law. All of these things targeting black people. All of them. Black people ain't did nothing but wanted to be free. As we sit back and we think about this for a moment, we are beginning to see more and more things as it relates to the Eptein files. As I've told you before, that I'm not surprised of anything that comes out of these files that implicates Donald Trump. You'd be a fool if you believe that he was not involved some way, shape, or form. And anyone who would suggest otherwise, you are a damn fool. There's more and more. And this is what triggered this thing with Majorie Traitor Green. This is what triggered a lot of Republicans. They vote 227 to 1. Clay Higgins is the only person in the House that voted against releasing those files. The Senate overwhelmingly voted unanimously. No votes. The question is, what's going on here? See, these Rethuglicans are trying to run from under Donald Trump's umbrella. They didn't want to be considered the grand old party or the guardians of pedophiles, as I had began to label them. They wanted to pretend like, oh, well, if we let these files go, there are going to be more people that's going to be injured, yada, yada, yada. No, you're trying to protect Donald Trump. Donald Trump then demands his attorney general to launch an investigation. You would launch an investigation. We talked about this last week. Then, of course, you can claim that, oh, these files are under investigation, so we can't release the files. Why are you doing all these somersaults? Because you are in those files. I would argue that you probably have some pictures and some photographs along with some videotape and some audio that you don't want people to hear. They want to say, oh, well, this is a national security issue now. Well, it's a national security interest that, or issue, if in fact we have national security people in those files who are being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, it's a national security issue. And it means that you need to clean clock. You need to clean the house. So the question I think we all need to understand as we continue to see Donald Trump supporting pedophiles. Andrew Tate was a pedophile that Donald Trump released, so to speak. Go look it up. Andrew Tate. It continues to go on and on. Andrew Paul Johnson, pardoned by Trump for storming the Capitol. Allegedly molested an 11-year-old boy multiple times and also bought him an iPad in hopes of silencing him. See, what you're beginning to realize here, now look, there are pedophiles from all political persuasions. There are pedophiles in every race. I know for a fact there are pedophiles in the black community. But at the end of the day, when you can expose these people for who they are, why wouldn't you expose them, Donald Trump? Why wouldn't you want to expose them? That's the question. And more is coming out that clearly he knew Epstein beyond the time that he claimed. Clearly that he was involved with Epstein to what capacity we don't know as of yet. Clearly he was screwing around on his wife because Epstein clearly shows us that. It's amazing how he continues to speak from the grave, and there's more that we're going to learn, I'm sure. We cannot let this die. We cannot let it go away. We need to make sure that the American people know who and what is in the White House. Oh, excuse me. We need to know that. This has nothing to do with Democrats. And by the way, will you please stop calling it a hoax? So you're telling me that it was a hoax. The files didn't exist. Then you're saying the files did exist, but it's still a hoax. Then the women come out and you say they're a hoax, but these are women who knew Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So you're saying, well, the women are real, but this is a Democratic host, and I want the Democrats to be investigated, but I don't want the Republicans to be investigated, even though that my best friend for at least admitted by you, was Jeffrey Epstein. Doesn't make too much sense, does it? I know. But then again, this entire administration has never made too much sense. It's time for the truth to come out. It's time for you to demand it. I was talking to a young man the other day, and he was talking about, all this thing is about the Epstein files. I'm sick of the Epstein files. And I told him, I said, well, brother, I understand what you're saying, but we need to know. And I asked him, I said, if this were your sister, would you want justice for her? Yeah, I would, man, but no, brother, there is no buts. These young women need justice. I find it ironic that none of the women that we know of so far were black. Because usually when white people wanted to come and exploit black people, they would come into the black community. I remember growing up and my mom telling me to be careful when you see a car with a single white man in it. We would always tell little girls, because that single white man was trying to get you in his car so he could sexually molest you, and then he would give you $5. This happened a lot in the black community growing up. Young black girls being raped and accusing a black boy of raping her when in fact she had slept with a white boy who had a fancy car and he had beat her up. Yeah, this happened growing up. So I'm surprised that so far we've only seen young white girls, but that doesn't pale the crime at all. That simply says that rich white men will and want to exploit anybody and everybody for their own personal needs, even their own kind. That provides a certain amount of sickness that you're not quite used to. I'm just saying. 855-525-5683 is a number. That's how you get in touch with me if you'd like to join the show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, what we must do.
Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you'd like to join the show. A lot of stuff to talk about. We're in the segment of what we must do. This is my favorite segment of the day, where we talk about, we culminate what happened, what we talked about on the show, and try to give you some marching orders on what you need to continue to do. We've seen a lot of things happening this week. And I guess the word of the day would be vigilant. Because as we've seen up and down with the Supreme Court, as we've seen up and down with rulings that may or may not help the black community, we have to be vigilant. We have to continue to fight. We have to continue to stand for what's right. It is the only way that we can be successful. As we look out on the landscape, we have black so-called leaders who are willing to knuckle under simply because of 30 pieces of silver. I'm referring to Pharrell Williams and many of his ilk. We have many people who are willing to sell the black community down the river just so that they can feel like they are the big man or the big woman. It's really a sickness of white supremacy that you would turn upon your own people in order for you to be successful, not understanding that once all of your people are gone, then they're going to come for you. Okay? Does that make sense? So as we look back over this show, we look and see how people have realized that white supremacy is only for white supremacy. It's not for black folks. Never has been. It's not for women, unless you want to be their handmaid. That's what it's all about. And what we have to start continually doing is educating our people. And we also need to call out those who stand high on the throne on our backs, built upon our backs, who then dare to turn around and chastise those who he looks down upon, who looks just like him, because they simply want the same thing. They want to be treated fairly. Again, that's what this whole thing, as I learn more, and I want to thank Michael Harriot for an excellent, excellent book that reinforced the things that I already knew, that black people were never messing with y'all. Think about it. I know at my age, I'm 64 years old. There has been often times that I've walked down the street and have been called the N-word, just out of the blue. I'll give you another example. When I was 14 years old, my Boy Scout troop rode bicycles to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Now, that may not mean anything to you if you're not familiar with the area, but Hot Springs, Arkansas is about, 30 miles southeast of Little Rock. It's about a 35 to 40 minute drive from Little Rock. It was before they built the new highway. It was a winding road down Benton Highway, and we rode bicycles as our bicycle merit badge. It was about 10 of us. We rode bicycles from Little Rock to Gulfer Gorge, camped out in Gulfer Gorge in Hot Springs, and then came back up the main highway. On the way up the main highway, there were a car full of white boys, and they called us the N-word, and threw a half a watermelon, and it just barely missed our scoutmaster, Mr. Clifton Earl Towns. Now, I tell you that story, that there we were, innocent young black males, doing something for ourselves as well as the community, because our Boy Scout troop was active in the community. And here were white men, white boys, trying to evoke a response by calling us an N-word and throwing fruit at us. You see, white people have never done anything except cause problems for black people. Black people have only wanted to be free. And who's precluded us from that? White people. I'm sorry. That's just a fact. And what we have to do is, when people like Pharrell Williams and Candace Owens and any of these so-called black conservatives, Byron Donalds, I could go down the list. Larry Elder, where is he now? All of them have curried favor with white people so that they could get paid, but they really didn't give a damn about black people. And we have to be willing to stand up against those people and call them out and say, no, bro, not here. That's not what's going to happen. We have to be vigilant. You see, freedom is something that is not static. Freedom is something that is always changing. Freedom is something that will always be challenged by those who are inferior, because freedom stands against their oligarchies, their fascism. You don't want freedom for people. You don't want anybody to be free. You want only certain people. And there are certain people who will sell you out to curry favor for the man in charge so that they could get a few more pieces of silver. You've seen it. You've seen it on your job. You've seen it when regular Joe Blow worked with you and then on the line, and then he becomes a union representative and he changes his tune. Hello? You see, one thing I've always talked about when you talk about leadership, I learned this from The Art of War and Ober T. Shaka. I've got that book up there somewhere. I've got it somewhere. One thing I learned is leadership is something that is ever evolving. It should be. Those leaders that don't evolve, they end up being like Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, or Il, I don't know what he is now. They're not evolving. And one thing about leadership is this. As if I'm your leader, I want people smarter than me on my team. It's kind of like a quarterback on a football team. Oftentimes, the quarterback is not the best athlete, but he wants a good running back. He sure as hell wants a great offensive line. He wants good receivers. He wants good tight ends. Because that quarterback who is designated the leader understands that without those people, he's nothing. That's why I always laugh when people talk about how great Tom Brady is. When you go back, when you're talking about a team sport, we like to give one person all the credit, but without that defense, Without that offensive line, that defensive line, that secondary, that interception in the Super Bowl, whatever the case may be, Tom Brady is not the Tom Brady that we know today. That's any sport. Choose Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen. Choose LeBron James. Choose Magic Johnson. Pick anybody that works on a team. You are nothing without your team. Even the bench warmers are important because in practice, they are your practice dummies. They are running your scout team. So it is important that that leader has great teammates. Go look at any Hall of Fame list and then look at his or her teammates. So what am I saying? Is that if I'm going to lead you, I want the best people around me. Leadership, great leadership, will hire people who are smarter than him. So when you succeed, people will look to the leader and say, hey, you know what? Dave did a great job, but look at the people he hired. Look how he was willing to stand aside while some of his people moved ahead. It made him look good. That's just the opposite of what we see in this particular administration. Is we have a guy who thinks he's smarter than everybody in the world, who stands up and bullies everybody in the world and says, hey, look at me, tell me I'm great, when you are a piece of crap. That's not leadership, folks. It never has been, and it never will be. And no matter how you stand up on your desk, the resolute desk in the White House, and destroy that historical building and put gold inlays in the building, your legacy is going to say to you that you were a piece of crap. And we as individuals have got to understand that we've got to be willing to fight against pieces of crap. No if, no ands, no doubts. Vigilance is what we must do today. We must be vigilant. We must stand guard like the deacons of defense. We must be willing to awaken and escape in the night, like the conductor of the Underground Railroad taught us, Harriet Tubman. We must be willing to crow to the moon and say, this is wrong. All of that is part of being vigilant and understanding that freedom is not free. And we must be willing to stand for freedom, no matter how much money we make. No matter if we're on the bottom of the totem pole, on the top of the totem pole. Consciousness must include humanity, and it begins with freedom. And no man can take that away from us unless we give it away. We cannot allow people to tell us one thing while they're laughing all the way to the bank while we're suffering. We cannot allow black people to come into our communities and feign blackness only to make money off of the community and then turn their backs on the community. We must be vigilant and understand that there are all kinds of people coming to us to exploit our greatness, our expertise. And at some point, our vigilance must stand and say, no more. And that's what we must do. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. We're here every Monday. We're slowly but surely picking up new subscribers. If you know some people who would be interested in the show, please, by all means, tell them, subscribe to the show, share the show. I share it on Facebook. I share it on Instagram. Please make sure that people are listening to this show. We've got to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed it. No ifs, ands, or buts. We upload a brand new show every Monday. It starts at noon Central. And again, I want to thank JC Love, the owner of Thornton Broadcasting Systems, who allows this show to continually be broadcast on his radio station, Black owned and Black operated. Please go out and support JC. He's taking some slings and arrows from me, because there are people who have wanted to cancel this show, but we're not gonna let it happen. Okay? Thanks a lot. We gotta get out of here. Remember, brilliant minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. Which do you possess? Peace.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joinetradio.com.